Welcome back to the garage. We did a quick cleanup of the workbench mostly. We got the big stuff off. There's a handful of nuts and bolts in the way. So where are we at? This is our whole brand new to us setup. Flywheel, the housing here. Pulley housing. Flywheel. This is the old clutch pack. Got the pressure plate. The clutch disc itself, way down in there, we can't see, is about as worn out as the last one. Now the dealer that we got this from, they got a bunch of used TR.70s, and maybe a handful of TR.85s. I'm sitting back in their parts lot. It's Steinke Tractor Sales. They're great. They've helped me out with some of the parts for the K, and they obviously have helped us out with quite a few used parts for the TR.70. Typically they treat us well. Family-run place. They're a Gleaner, well, not a Gleaner, but they're an Eggco and New Holland dealer, which is kind of an odd mix. I'm being wrapped up with both of those companies. But they're good at getting parts for both. So, shout out to them. The only thing I wish is that they were closer, but they do a really good job of getting us parts. Yeah, they're, well, Steinke's is an hour and a half plus away depending upon traffic. Okay. Well, the old pressure plate is a little frosty. It's about 20 degrees outside. And, well, take a look at these old fibers in this one. They're none too thick. The thickness you see there away from the plate is just a little bit of metal that the ceramic is glued to. So more parts for our collection of stuff to do something with. Oh, Jesus, is dirty. Now I brought the new ones up. Conveniently, we still have the pilot bearing in there, so I get to use our new tool again. My hands are going to be so dark and greasy. As usual, twist it in there and expand out the claws or fingers. This one turns. Are tight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was a week. 7. Now what's funny is I just put a bunch of these very similar bearings onto the head for the Gleaner. They're 6204 2RS bearings. Now the ones on the corn head were just RS, so they're a single seal. You kind of hear how rough and dry that one is. Needless to say, scrap metal, some expensive scrap metal. Well, I'm probably going to have to get somebody else to help me balance this thing when we put the new pressure plate and the new clutch plate on it. So when I get a hand, we'll be back. Okay, so where are we at? A little bit of part swapping going on. You might not be able to notice it from way over there. So let's come a little closer. Just watch. You might not even be able to see that, but there's a very little bit of play in these ball bearings on our used, new to us assembly here. So back over here at our used old one to us, we pop the pulley off, and we're getting the numerous 2 set screws out that hold one of the bearings in the back. And hopefully it'll all just fall apart nicely. Hopefully. We still gotta get the flywheel off. A little bit tight on the gear puller, getting this guy off.
You get 3 blocks.
new idea. Since hammering won't work, I'm going to try threading bolts into the holes that hold the pressure plate on. Push against the casting. And either we're going to pop the bearings and the shaft loose, or maybe we'll get lucky and be able to pull the flywheel off the shaft. Looking at those tool marks in there, this has been off before, plus it's been machined down once. There's a nice sharp corner there, and you can kind of see the machine marks there. A bit of an arcing pattern. This one's still original, it's got a rounded edge. You don't really see the arc machine marks in it. Hopefully we can get this one apart somewhat nicely. Hopefully. Okay, this might be winner chicken dinner. We've had a couple pops. Looks like, I think we've had something move down in there. There's a little bit more lip. Yeah. Hey, looking at a dark hole there, guys. Sorry. And since I'm trying to not get too incredibly lengthy with the videos here, kind of missed the pop, but we had a couple of them. We're getting short on threads on our bolts. I don't know if we have anything with more thread to it or not. Over in the bolt bin.
To the end, to the end. To the end, to the end.
Just about, yeah. Well, let's see if we have anything better, but just looking next size up to the same amount of thread. Turning is getting so easy, we got a big gap. It better fall off. Hopefully it doesn't hit anybody in the toe. There. Good thing too. Because I was about out of threads. Ugh. Jeez. Talk about fighting tooth and nail. Yeah, we gotta cut these off. They're a little bent. They're a lot bent.
Mm. Yeah.
Now to do it again. Welcome back to the floor. Finally, we got the shaft out of the old one. We've decided to go with new bearings since we hammered on it quite a bit to get the flywheel off. And while we got it here, might as well start fresh, so they don't cause us issues in the future. A lot of dust, ceramic dust. I'm imagining most of this stuff is freeze and bake and put it together while it's hot and cold and let it expand out. Because we don't have a big press to put it together. Might be nice to get it apart, not sure. Only one more flywheel to get off. Now we can go back together. Assuming we can find bearings in the morning. Yay, Saturdays. It's that Saturday morning now, and I took a shower. I think I got that little black smudge of ceramic dust off my eyebrow. And we found new bearings. I ended up going to a dealer, Apple Farm Service near Covington, Ohio. They've been pretty good at getting New Holland parts for us. They're a combo New Holland and Case IH dealer. Hopefully Brad didn't see that camera fall, but it's still in the video, so I guess he did. And I'm still alive and here talking to you now. The bearings are somewhat tight fits. Only the two set screws are really the only thing that positively holds the bearings in place. A lot of debate how to get it in. We got the other side in already. We hammered the bearing onto the shaft, and we're trying to get this is actually the larger bearing out by the pulley. We're fighting the compression of the casting and then the shaft being a little tight on the inside race. I think we started a little crooked. And you need more leverage, so I'm getting up there. Wham, wham, wham. Hammer time, hammer time. Yes, having a gigantic press would make this much easier. That might be on the list of tools. Now, right here, we're going to find out that by hammering this bearing through, the amount of space between the bearings on the shaft is greater than the amount of space they leave between the bearings inside that yellow casting, such that the shaft can move a little bit. And I spent, I don't know, an hour or so trying to get the other bearing on the wide open side of that housing to go farther in, when really it was up against the shaft, and the way I was hammering, it wasn't allowing the shaft to move inside the casting because I couldn't get the set screws back in. That's a problem I think we'll see here in a few seconds. Yeah, this project really blew out of proportion. I was thinking I'd put a clutch in, okay, a couple days, and then we just started finding problems. At least we can feel good about ourselves now that it's all better now. And take a quick break here. Come back. Flywheel time. And I should have checked the other side before I put the pulley on. Apparently, we find out in a lot of this video that hammers make everything better, or help somehow. I guess the larger the better. Luckily, we didn't crack any castings, at least with a hammer. That's one big nut. I think it's like 1.5 inches, roughly. Yeah, it's 1.5 inches. And it's really hard to tighten it when I got nothing to hold it. Didn't think to put it on the combine and then put the pulley on, which would have been a great idea. Because in the next video, you'll see how much we hassled with it. Hello. Make sure to subscribe to see what sort of fun we're having. But right now in the oven, we're baking our flywheel for the TR.70 clutch. Hopefully get some expansion to drop it right down on the shaft. We baked it for 350 degrees for a half hour. Hopefully get everything all expanded. And hopefully, you're ready to set this thing on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready to get the gloves on?
No.
Get some gloves on. Damn thing. Can't wait.
Well, we've already ran into a problem. We tried to set the flywheel on once, and the keyway, Woodruff key, keyway, whatever you want to call it, the thing that makes sure the force is transferred to the shaft, or transferred from the shaft to the flywheel, keeps falling out of place. And we got really good with this setup. We have a 13/16 socket underneath the end of the bolt and the bearing puller that fits perfectly down in the center of the flywheel hole. And we got tired of using ratchets, so we got the impact out to spin that thing for us. When we'd used it, there was quite a bit of hammering also, but that was when we had to pull the flywheel off originally. Right now it's only on fractions of an inch, but it's more than we can pull off by hand. And we're trying to figure out why that thing won't go on. There's something wrong with the shaft. I thought we didn't have it lined up. We got a flashlight, got our gloves on. At 350 degrees, yeah, it'll boil your spit pretty fast or burn your skin. Brad finally got gloves on. And there's a little hammer action. Tap, tap, tap. I think it took us like 3 tries before we finally took a file to the slot for the keyway and the flywheel. That did wonders. Just a little bit more leeway, to get the key to slide in, and then it went to hammer town. Smack that sucker on there. I was rather surprised at how quickly the heat of the flywheel transferred to the shaft. We had the whole big yellow assembly sitting outside, and it was close to freezing, enough to cool it down so it would contract, get a little smaller. But that must have been one close tolerance on that hole in the flywheel, because even for having it all heated up, it took a lot of persuasion. When we put a new override clutch in our TC30 for the PTO, there was a couple things that were either a pressure fit or a freeze and drop on. Mostly it was a freeze the shaft and just drop the bearing in place, because you really would have had to work with a press to get the bearing down on it. They must have had a lot closer tolerances for this project. Let's see, to keep the keyway in, actually put a little bit of Permatex Formaseal, just something a little sticky to hold it in place because it kept falling out every time I got the hammer out. Flywheel is still hot. Oh, it probably took an hour or two for that thing to cool off. There was a good size chunk of cast iron formed there. Odd note, on the back of the flywheel I found a casting of the JD logo, like with the J forming the straight edge of the D, like John Deere. Which I kind of already knew this. I didn't expect to find their logo cast into it. But New Holland and John Deere were somehow sharing some drive axle parts and transmission parts between like a TR.70 and a 6600. But with the 6600's forward engine placement, I've come across a couple 6600s that have bent the front axle. I mean, we're still going at this. Jeez, there we go. Okay, I think we're getting close on this one. This is the one. I got everything figured out. It's going on. Big hammer time. Let's get this done. Wham. Bam. Thank you, ma'am. I've never gone wrong getting a bigger sledgehammer. We're about ready to wrap up here. Make sure to comment. Those are always fun. It's a good chance a lot of you have subscribed. If you haven't, I mean, look how much fun we have. Lots of hammers. Thanks for watching, guys.